Hello and welcome to another An Old Man Watches. And today I'm going to be talking about Twister's Revenge from 1987. The Twister in question is Mr. Twister, a $200,000 monster truck laden with high-tech electronics and computer gear. So 1987, what's that, 35 years ago nearly, so 200 grand, worth a lot more then than it is now. I mean, there are plenty of cars that cost $200,000 these days. Not that I would buy one, but they're out there. Anyway, three crooks plot to hijack this vehicle and sell the contents. They're handicapped in this ambition, however, not only by the fact that they're all extremely stupid, but also by the fact that Twister, Mr. Twister, is intelligent. He can even talk. So basically, he's Kit from Knight Rider if Kit was a monster truck instead of a sports car. Anyway, when their efforts to steal Mr. Twister himself come to naught, the crooks instead kidnap the woman who programmed him, intending to ransom her, which leads Twister and the woman's husband on a not exactly epic quest to save her, and we'll talk about the not exactly epic factor as part of this video, along with a couple other things. So yeah, the 80s, they sure were a time, hey? This is very 80s, shall we say. Both in terms of the story behind its production and in terms of the kind of movie it is, basically. But let's talk about some of the things about this film that are interesting. So first of all, names matter, and maybe it's just me, but Twister's Revenge sounds like it could be a sequel. I don't know why they didn't just call it Twister. You might even have got a bit of cash out of Jan de Bont in 1996 that way. Though, you probably would have needed to be able to see the future to realise that was going to be a factor. But anyway, there have certainly been times in the past when movies have been renamed to reduce the risk of them being misidentified as a sequel. Admittedly, it's sometime after Twister's Revenge, but obviously the renaming The Madness of George III to The Madness of King George was partly about preventing people from thinking it was the third film in a series, though, by all reports, the bigger motivation was getting the word king into the title. But again, names matter. Getting king into the title was important. It established why, like the Madness of George, the Madness of King George, So yeah, names matter. I'm not sure Twister's Revenge is the greatest of names for this feature, but it is what it is. Secondly, Twister's Revenge is a live-action cartoon. The film is completely live-action, obviously. The truck is really rampaging. Obviously, it's not actually hyper-intelligent and full of electronics, but, it crushes cars, it smashes buildings, and not small buildings of that. Obviously, they found somewhere that was scheduled for demolition or something, because they do some pretty impressive live action stunts here in terms of what the monster truck gets up to. But the movie itself is basically a series of cartoonish pratfalls. Many of them, obviously, as I said, revolving around monster truck action, as Twister flattens everything in sight. But all of that mayhem is utterly harmless in the way that it is utterly harmless in a live action cartoon. You blow somebody up in this film, and they just end up with a blackened face. Straight out of a cartoon playbook. Everything is broadly, deliberately absurd. And the climactic encounter of the film sees Twister face off with a main battle tank, which is really merely the most ridiculous of the many already ridiculous moments. So yeah, it's very, very broad, slapsticky nonsense, basically. Now, I've called it not quite a joyride, because basically, the film has, the film is, because, joyride cars, number one, but the film obviously wants to be kind of like this entertaining, exciting rampage kind of, action sequences that they've thrown, and I should mention, this film had, from what a little bit of research online that I did, the film appears to have been made entirely without studio support, which makes the demolition sequences that they've put in fairly impressive. You know, I'm guessing they bought a whole bunch of old junkyard cars, and they found some buildings already slated for demolition to minimise their own costs. But, you know, they've really gone out of their way to try and have lots of spectacle here and lots of destructive ambition. The problem is that they've also, because they've gone with that live-action cartoon approach, none of those action sequences have any kind of tension or danger or sense of danger to them. I mean, they probably were dangerous for the people actually doing them, but that doesn't convey on screen. And if your action sequences aren't going to be tense and exciting, then I feel like they need to be funny. And Twister's action sequences are silly, but not funny, which I put down to as it's a failing of the script, to my opinion. The script needed some work to actually make the slapstick funnier. Because you can't just rely, his face is blackened, ha ha ha, that's funny, right? Well, no, it's not necessarily funny. You need to set it up in the right way. It's all about the delivery, folks. People can, a comedian who knows how to deliver a joke can tell a joke that wouldn't get a laugh if I told it, and get a laugh. Yeah, and that's their job. And that, if you're trying to be a funny movie, is also your job, and that's where Twister's Revenge falls down. It ultimately isn't good enough to make you laugh on its terms, and it's not bad enough to make you laugh at it for its incompetence. It kind of sits in this middle range, and I have a friend who is firmly of the opinion that films, like he says, like the danger zone, if you go and look at a movie on IMDb and it's rated 2 out of 10, it might be entertaining in a so bad it's good way. If you go on IMDb and a movie's rated like 4 or 5 out of 10, that's the danger sign. That's the sign the movie is just meh. And there's, meh movies are not fun. Really bad movies can be fun. Good movies are obviously the best kind of movies, but, really bad movies can be fun in a way that meh movies aren't. And unfortunately, Twister's Revenge, unless you're hugely into monster truck action, in which case, check it out, is a bit of a meh movie. It's a shame, because obviously it was a bit of a labour of love that they went ahead and made this thing without studio support. It didn't quite work out. But, probably the fact that the movie was a bit meh is why it didn't get studio support. Anyway, that's Twister's Revenge, a very 80s movie indeed. Next time, I'm going to be talking about a movie from 1972, Moon of the Wolf, which is, you probably guessed from the title, a bit of a werewolf film. So we'll be talking about that next time. In the meantime, I hope you've enjoyed this one, and thanks for watching.